every great DJ steals.
In the beginning, you have nothing. You want to eat. You want to, you want to develop your social media. You want to do something. You want to get shows. You want to get gigs.
Yeah.
Nobody give a fuck about you. You're like, so I need a hit. So you do everything you can to get a hit, and sometimes you do wrong choices.
The advice to be original that nearly everyone preaches has killed so many careers, but the real problem is that you don't really know how to actually steal. You see, most people think that stealing is like looking over the shoulders of the guy sitting next to you in class while you take a test and taking his answers. But this isn't really stealing, this is just copying. And in music, copying is probably the fastest way to ruin any chances you've had of being successful. Think of it this way, the best DJs aren't copying an idea, they're reimagining it. But the thing is, they're not just stealing a single idea, they're actually stealing multiple different ideas. But the truth is, if you copy from one or two different places, you actually kind of become a little bit predictable and easy to trace. And the best DJs and artists and producers all know to steal from many different places, and they're experts at covering up their tracks. This is why the golden rule here is going to be to steal at least 3 different things from 3 different places, because it makes your tracks just so much more layered and so much harder to just trace it back to a single source.
I really wanted to challenge myself to do something that sounded sampled that wasn't. My favorite thing was sending this off to the label, and then a week later all the label heads were like, where's this sample from? Like, none of us can find it.
Yes.
I was like, nah, sucked in.
So let's take Dom Dollar for example. He was able to make tracks that sounded sampled, but weren't, which instantly got his label's attention. But this wasn't just luck. It was the result of smart layered borrowing, which he's not the only one to do. Mau P actually did the exact same thing.
I mean, you have to be really well informed and have knowledge of what was in the past. Like for me, culturally, Drugs from Amsterdam sounded like 90s rave. That was sort of the inspiration, like with the stabs and the super saws and the, and it was that mixed with modern day tech house. So that to me was really fresh. I was being very calculated, but not restrained.
Both of these DJs, Dom Dollar and Mau P, have mastered the art of stealing sound design, which is the art of taking familiar sounds from other genres and time periods and flipping them into another genre and making something completely unique. It's a way to evoke that feeling of having heard something before without ever actually being predictable. And when you mix influences from different time periods and genres, you make something that feels both unique and fresh, but also completely different and keeps your listeners guessing, exactly like how Dom Dollar did to his record label. But sometimes what you need to stand out is honestly just to blatantly steal. And if you own it, you can actually become known for that thing. Let's take Hugel for example.
When you don't have hit and you really want to have one, you gonna probably try to maybe copy what's on the radio or kind of do stuff that works on the radio, even if it's not really what you love. Not compromising, but trying to not being real, not being yourself 100%.
Okay.
Because of success, because you want to sell. And that's wrong. An artist should never do that. But I had to go through it to learn that it is not right to do music for the success or for the money or for being in playlist on radio. In the beginning, you have nothing. You want to eat. You want to, you want to develop your social media. You want to do something. You want to get shows. You want to get gigs.
Yeah.
Nobody give a fuck about you. You're like, so I need a hit. So you do everything you can to get a hit, and sometimes you do wrong choices.
So Hugel's sound prior to 2018, in my opinion, honestly just sounded like a copy of everyone else at the time, which, like I said at the beginning of the video, really gets you nowhere. But when you start to steal, things get a little bit more interesting.
So, and what about, you have a very particular sound in your tracks and the style of production, right? When it comes, to your signature sound, how did you develop it? How did that happen?
So I've been resident DJ in Marseille and Salsa French for 10 years.
Okay.
So, if you're from Italia, the Mediterranean Sea, you got Salsa French, you got Spain, you got Italia, the culture is all similar in the Mediterranean Sea.
Yeah.
So my boss, they were going all the time to Ibiza, to Spain, you know, because they had like some business over there. And every time they were coming back, they were like, hey, I want you to play this record, this record, this record. So I grew up with all this stuff from Luciano, Vagabundos, like all these things.
Oh, yeah.
Who were like really like full of drums and, you know. And then later, after I quit the residency, when I started like to be on the international scene as a DJ, I moved to Ibiza. I was living in Ibiza in Spain, you know. Then my music started to get even more like, you know, Balearic, you know, the feeling of all the drums and all that shit. And then when COVID arrived, I did as a therapy because I thought it was the end of the world, you know, like from one day to another, I had no show anymore. I was locked in my house and stuff.
You fell too.
Just and I moved from Ibiza to Lisbon. I had to move to Portugal, so I was not in Ibiza anymore, and I started to miss Ibiza a lot. And just like as a therapy, I just produced Morenita. But I never planned that this song would arrive in America and would be like a new sound in America, because the truth is like now in America they call what I do the Latin house and this and that. But the truth is that what I do is just the music from Ibiza we got since like 15 years.
So after Hugel's hit track Morenita released in 2021, it seemed like almost every DJ at the time was leaning into Latin house. We're talking John Summit, West End, Rorden, and to be fair, all of the tracks were pretty good, but if you think about it today, none of those DJs are really known for Latin house. But because Hugel really leaned into this new identity, he was able to carve out a space for himself as a DJ. But in order for him to kind of sustain this success after Morenita and ride this Latin house wave a bit longer, Hugel decided to steal from a place that a lot of DJs and producers are scared to steal from because of how hard it is to pull off. Okay, so if we take a listen to Hugel in 2021, and Hugel now, you can see that not only has his sound changed, but so have his streams. So in order to sustain his momentum as a DJ, Hugel did what honestly few others can really pull off. He stole directly from his competition, and he honestly pulled it off pretty well. If you take a listen to his track Forever featuring Malou and Yuna, Hugel really took a lot of inspiration for the sound design and the rhythm of his lead from the sound design and rhythm of the lead of Black Coffee and Kinda Music's track, The Rapture Part 3. And if we take a listen to Hugel's track, I Adore You, we can actually see that he takes some inspiration for his drum sound selection and drum rhythms, and also copied the technique of pedal point, which is where you have a constant steady element and note playing throughout the entire track with a melody or bass line evolving around it from a couple of Kinda Music's tracks. We're talking Move and Say What. So by using these elements, Hugel really didn't just copy the trend of Afro House, he evolved it. And the result was something that felt familiar to people who listen to Afro House and completely refreshing to his core audience of Latin House. And this method of stealing isn't just copying, it's honestly true creativity. It's looking at everything around you in the world and taking out the parts that speak to you and molding it into something that only you can make. And if you want to see exactly how some of the biggest artists are doing just that, then you need to watch this playlist next.